Welcome to the webinar, brought to you by Delivering Asia Communications and C9 Hotelworks, supported by American Chambers of Commerce in Thailand, AmCham. I'm your host today and moderator, Business Development Sumi Suryan, Business Development Director of Delivering Asia Communications. We have hosted a series of webinars this year focusing on country-specific hospitality and tourism outlook and design reinvention series. We're proud to bring you today's webinar titled Women in Hotels, Taking on the World. Before I start, I have a few housekeeping points. This webinar runs for 60 minutes and it will be recorded and it will be distributed to the audience. There won't be any Q&As at the end of this session. However, if you wish to ask questions to any of our panelists, please do type it in the Q&A function below. As you may notice, this webinar is a departure from other webinars we've conducted recently. With me today is not only simply women-only panel, but a panel made up of interesting, incredible women from all walks of life, from all over the world. They are cross-generational, multinational, and very diverse, and they're all professionals or aspiring professionals in the hospitality and tourism sector. I want to mention that this webinar is to celebrate successes, accomplishments, and learnings of up and coming women or women who are in leadership positions. We're here to share our highs and lows and learn from each other's challenges and get inspired. So to kickstart this webinar, I will be interviewing our first speaker, Malaya Pamkis. Malaya is our youngest speaker today. We would like to hear her thoughts on hospitality and whether it would be a career she aspires to. Like many of us, we have been in her shoes, still in school, and bombarded with many career choices. I'm very interested to hear Malaya's insights, and I'm sure our audience would like as well. Thank you, Malaya, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I believe it's your second day back at school and you left early to be with us.
Yep.
Thank you. That is dedication and commitment. You already possess, the great leadership skills already. How are you today? So do tell us briefly about yourself.
The second day at EWC, grade 8. I'm here in Singapore, and I've been living in Singapore for about 9 years.
Excellent. So I'm going to kick off with the first question. I'm going to ask you 3 questions today. So, have you thought about a career in hospitality and tourism? Why and why not?
Well, I mean, I'm only 13, so thinking about what I want to do when I get older isn't my biggest priority. But to be completely honest, no. I don't see myself working in the hospitality industry, and I think most kids my age would agree. The main reason is that it feels boring. It feels really structured. I mean, our parents go to work in formal clothes and come back late and kind of tired, and usually with even more work to do. It's repetitive, and it isn't quote unquote sold to teenagers in a very interesting way. As teenagers, we want to do something that's fun and energizing, and hospitality almost feels like a job that we would fall into.
Right.
I need to have a good place to do.
Sorry. Thank you, Malik. That leads us to the next question. So, right. So if hospitality is not where you think you'll be heading in the future, so what inspires you instead currently and why?
For a couple of months, I've been interested in psychiatry, learning about the brain and how it deals with different emotions and trauma. In my eyes, that seems like a lot more fun and interesting than hospitality. Now, I know that there are many different angles in the hotel industry, but the only reason I know that is because my dad works with it. Now, I know it's more than that. You meet lots of new people, you travel the world, you get to experience different cultures. That aspect of it does sound fun and really exciting, but that's not what kids are being told. I mean, as far as we know, it either means you open doors for people at hotels or you're the CEO of some really big hotel chain. And neither of those sound very appealing. However, I feel that if hospitality was marketed to teenagers in a more relevant way, I'm sure more of us would really understand what it is and even become interested in it.
Wow, that's why we're all here today. So let's see if we can, change your mindset on that. So following on to the last question. So what are your thoughts generally on female empowerment in the workforce?
As for women in hotels, it feels like slow change. From what I've heard and what I've been told, women sometimes get paid less and receive less recognition for doing the same or even more work than some men do. And I may be sounding like every girl ever when I say this, but I have no idea how to impact it. In a way, I'm just 13, I'm still in school, and I've never been thrown into the real world. And yeah, of course, I can totally advocate and I can educate people on the topic, but how much impact will that really have? I mean, I feel that so many women just fall into it and just go with it, maybe because they need the money, even if it's less, or maybe they're actually really passionate about working in the hospitality industry and they're willing to suffer the money consequences. Changing anything or everything now feels or seems really difficult. I've tried to be an advocate for gender equality for a long time, but I feel that we would need so many people that be willing to make a change. But not only is it the amount of people, it's also how important each of these people are. I mean, we need big, important bosses who can really make their voices heard, people who make big decisions. A bunch of middle schoolers won't do much, but I absolutely do think that change needs to be made, and when I know how to help, I'd be glad to.
That's fair enough. It's very interesting to hear your insights, and thanks for sharing. Like Gandhi once said, be the change that you want to see. So it really starts from yourself, and it doesn't matter how old you are or how big or small. So, every impact starts with each individual. So thank you again, Mailea, for taking the time today and leaving so early to be here with us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next speaker, I would like to welcome Anchalika Kitkanakon. Anchalika is known for her impact she's made on Thailand's hospitality industry. The hardworking yet humble founder of Akarin Hotel Group. She started her career by renovating her family's beachside residence into a luxurious yet laid-back retreat, the Alinta Hua Hin Pran Buri, which was hailed as Thailand's first ever boutique resort. Welcome, Anchalika.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm sorry, can you hear the construction noise right now?
Yeah, I was wondering where that sound was coming from.
I need to tell them to stop for a second. Is that okay? We're renovating. So I'm at the resort and we're renovating at the moment. So let me just give them a quick thing to stop. Just give me a minute.บอกให้เขาหยุดทำงานปุ๊บนึงพี่เปิ้ลทำอะไรอยู่เร็ว Hi, sorry, I'm back.
Great.
This is working, Mailea, in a resort.
In the real life in action.
This is real life working. So originally I was in one of the rooms and then the Wi-Fi is actually not good enough. So I'm moving into an office. So here I am. Sorry about that.
Welcome to our webinar, Anchalika. And thanks for that. So I'm going to kick off with a few questions for you today. So you have a very interesting background. So you come from a finance with GE, which is a global financial giant for over 10 years. So I'm really interested to know what made you switch careers and industry.
I was under the impression that I was going to go on a retirement plan.
Wow.
I wanted to retire on the beach. That was the plan.
I want your life.
Well, it didn't happen. As you can see, I'm still doing the construction. So I came out of a job. I came out of school. Actually really didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I was offered a job that I couldn't refuse. An offer was really good. So I just went with the first offers that I got and then started working for GE Capital, and it taught me a lot. a lot of the things that you didn't learn in school. The first 10 years of my life was well um, taught by a big company with a good, solid background. So that was really, really fortunate for me. But then I found myself in various different countries with GE. And finally, in my 30s, I thought, what do I really want to do? And travel has always been my passion. I think all of us in travel industry, traveling has always been our passion and the cause of our undoing. So I decided to quit finance and come home to start my own business. Yeah. So that was 17 years ago.
Oh, wow. So you went with a passion. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So being a hotel entrepreneur, would you mind sharing with us your high and lows, and also trying to balance, work and family life? I mean, is there an equilibrium to that? Are you able to find the balance between juggling and, if you're able to share some, of your experiences in becoming a hotel entrepreneur and what that entails.
Yeah, it is really, as a single person, it was a lot easier. But I was lucky enough to start my company when I was single, so I didn't have any worries about working late or working hard, and so that was good. Having a family, you need to make choices in life, and obviously, being a mother of two and a woman, the choices that you make are almost always your family first. And I'm lucky enough to be able to balance both of those needs for me and for my family. I've got two lovely sons and they're doing really, really well. So yeah, I can't really complain. And to be honest with you, working for myself really does help. And I do not want to make of this situation for other people who has to work for a company and don't have that flexibility like I do. Like, if I want to go home at 3 to be at home when my kids are at home, I can. And I can choose to work from home, and I can choose to continue when the kids are in bed, or I can choose to take them to school every morning, which I do. That's a luxury that I have. But it is also a luxury that I want to give to my team. So, for example, one of my proudest things that I've done this last year is that one of the best staff that I have has came to me and resigned because she's pregnant, and she's from Malaysia, and she wanted to go home and have her baby in Malaysia rather than Thailand. And I said, well, why don't you stay? And she said, yeah, I want to be with my family. So I asked her, why don't you work from home? Take your pregnancy leave, and then once you're done with everything, just come back. But you can work online. And she does marketing for me. There's no need that we have to be together all the time. And so we gave it a try, and it's working out really, really, really well. I'm so proud of that. And she's working from home with her baby, and it's great. And to be honest with you, this COVID thing has proven that the technology really helps. Look at us, we're having a meeting on Zoom. I'm still working, renovating my hotel, and I'm having a break with you guys, and I can then go back to work in a couple of minutes. It saves a lot of time, and it's great for moms.
Exactly. I think you covered so many points there, especially in this day and age. Yeah, technology is one of them that helps in empowering women, giving all the right tools for us to, working from home, for example, and the flexibility, because, we also have many roles, and mother is one of them. So yeah, juggling between work and family has always been a constant struggle or challenge. But I also believe, if you have the right, mentor or a boss, it really makes a difference, because it comes with the understanding and the empathy. It also helps women in the workplace to flourish. So my last question for you, if you had a chance to speak to the next generation leaders, female hoteliers, who are considering venturing into the hotel industry, what would you advise them?
I would say don't go into it thinking that you're the underdog. I've never gone into any job thinking that I'm lesser than my counterpart, whether they're male or female. But maybe because I was fortunate enough to have a very strong mother who was the leader of my family. She looks after us, she takes care of us, she works full time. So I came from a long line of a very strong women. And so there was never this idea that women are lesser. So I just go in there and I just do my thing, and then that's that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Angelica. And lots of inspiring words there and advice for all of us. And, it doesn't only apply to women, I think to men and women and of all ages as well. So thank you again for your time today. Okay, so moving to our next speaker on the panel is Noreen Ahmed. So Noreen is based in London and is the Director of Marketing, Research and Analysis, Europe region with STR, which is one of the world's leading hospitality data intelligence companies. Today, she brings with us cross-cultural backgrounds and her experiences not only working in different countries, but working with inspiring women in the hospitality industry. She's here to share her story and inspire us. So Noreen, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sumi, for the introduction, and just wanted to say so honored to be part of this panel. I think it's going to be a challenge for us to share our stories in 5 minutes each with the collective experience that we have around this on this webinar, but I think we're all going to try our best. So the first thing I'll start with is that diversity. Now, it's not necessarily just the diversity that we have on this panel and the industry, cultures, people, but I think one of the things that attracted me to hospitality was the diversity in role and function. So I remember when I was looking at my curriculum for the hotel school, you got to do a little bit of everything: operations, finance, economics, marketing, sales, HR, a little bit of everything. And when I was 18 or 19, I'm like, I'm not ready to make a decision on what specialty I want to go down, So it was really nice to have that. And of course, having the global nature of hospitality being so diverse. And I'm really fortunate to have friends and colleagues from all around the world. And then that translated into my career. So when I came out, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went and did a management trainee program. Again, a great option that, hotels do offer. So I went and did that. I did a bit of F&B, then moved into revenue, then moved into data analysis, and now I'm in marketing. So you can't really know which way your career is going to go. But at the same time, what I do love about hospitality is gives you options. Just because you do one or one area when you start, it definitely does not mean that you have to end there. And and it's very flexible, and it has a lot of opportunities as long as you go looking for it, of course. And who knows where I'll end up in the next couple of years. The second point I'll talk about is a lack of female role models. So when I was, going through my career, and when you go into hospitality, you see a good mix, it doesn't matter, men, women, in all departments, in all areas. Of course, there are some that are more gender biased in some departments, but I'll just take GMs as an example. Even today, most hotel GMs are men. Now, since subsequently, I have met a lot of, amazing female GMs, but I didn't know them when I was first starting out within my hotel school and when I was graduating. So I didn't even consider to aspire to be a hotel GM. And what I do hope that we can do through events like this and, other organizations is to raise the awareness, bring some more recognition for all these amazing women that we have in our industry and such a diverse range of careers that all of us have on this panel that we'll be hearing about. So building some of that will be fantastic if we can do some more work around that area. And I think each one of us has a responsibility around there too. And also promoting women into senior leadership positions and doing our, each one of us has an opportunity to create those possibilities and make sure that it is possible, which will be, there's still some work to be done in that area. Finally, I'll end with passion. And a friend of mine reminded me recently that the hospitality industry is open to everyone, but it's not for everyone. And yes, there are not that many barriers to entry to hospitality, unlike if you wanted to become a doctor and you have to do a medical degree to be able to practice that. But then also not everyone can be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, whatever it may be. So I think when you choose hospitality as a career, there's a passion and a drive that comes with it that really is something, a common, I can't find the right word, but the common feeling, I suppose, or a common denominator that belongs to all of us, that we really want to give this genuine, amazing experience and, different parts of the world. And I think, yes, it's hard work and we all pay our dues especially at the early part of our career. But what I remember, what I take away is the fun that we had, the camaraderie we had, we're all in it together, and the great experiences that I had all throughout. And it all has led up to where I am today and what I remember, and all the amazing people that I've met, men and women, and the connections that I made. And something like this today, being so connected with technology is even better now. And we can meet and get introduced to so many amazing women within our industry, which is fantastic. And I think if you have passion, whatever you choose to do in your life, it will be easy, or it will come easy, or it won't seem as hard work. And with that, I think I have about a few seconds left to spare, and I'll hand it over, Sumi. So thank you so much for me today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Noreen. You've covered, there's so many key takeaways that that we could learn from what you've just mentioned. Yeah, you're so right about the hospitality industry, because there's so many areas that you could move around, and it is not for everybody. And I think it takes a certain personality or characteristics to be in a hotel industry. But yeah, you got to love it, and love people as well.
Absolutely, 100%. It is definitely about having that social interactions.
Exactly. So thank you again for your time, Noreen.
My pleasure.
And now we have our next speaker. Okay, this speaker, we don't need any introduction. Cindy.
Hello.
Is well known in the hospitality world. She's the founder of Tajara Leisure and Hospitality Group, and has a breadth of experience extending over 20 years in the hospitality, leisure, and residential development. So Cindy is based in Manila, Philippines. Cindy, I'm curious to hear how you get stronger in an environment where you're non-conformist, you're not afraid to say no, continue to be curious, always questioning, and very outspoken. So I know that you're often found with quotes saying that, I don't believe that to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. Never take it personally, it's just work. Or the best people may not necessarily be the right people for the job. So Cindy, how do you do it?
You know very well I can be personal, right?
All human.
So I actually grew up a bit rebellious, and working in the hotel, when I discovered the hotel industry, really kept me aligned. I'm a third generation contractor, so meaning my family are builders. At 19 years old, I worked for my uncle's travel agency, and that was actually, visually where I started meeting people in the hotel. And I just felt this was my calling, and this could actually be my vocation. And I decided to put like a blueprint of my plan, which became pretty much the building blocks of how I got here. And I remember my first hotel job, and my father actually just said, "Oh my God, please move away if you see my friends, because I can't see you waiting tables for them." But I like the fact that, every time I go to the cafeteria, I'd sit right next to someone I really don't know, could be the wait staff or the gardener or the housekeeping people, just to know, why they actually started working for this company. But one thing good with a hotel is that you meet with there's just so much diversity. I never felt there were inequality at the time. I never felt there were any gender issues. I mean, I come from, a background of contractors. So there's really more men where I came from, and moving to the hotel just never bothered me. But one thing that really interested me was that you can, maybe graduate from culinary or tourism, but you can actually be also, coming from an accounting background or marketing and communications. And get this all, everyone now in one house working together. So you could just imagine that, the plethora of talents that you work with. So one of the things I also kind of liked when I was, started in the industry was I never wanted to stay so long in one company. So I moved from one location to the other, Cebu, Boracay, Palawan, and it just got me more involved with different kinds of people until one of my key clients said, what are you doing? It's like, you're like a mushroom growing everywhere. And he says, why don't you open a company that just does startup? I said, what do you mean? It's like, just do hotels and resorts for a living. And I, at the time it was like, who would do that? Up until I think, I got fired from a job for not following instructions.
Being a
By
non-conformist.
the owner. And I just said, fuck it, right? I mean, it's like, I don't want to follow rules. I want to create my own, or maybe no rules at all, and just set up. And going back to say, the people that I work with, I mean, so I got the chance to actually develop, hotels and resorts. Well, the first thing I did was I started, I called in my brother who was really a contractor, and I just said, let's set this up, because we wanted to be part of the foundation of everything that we built. So we should know how we built it, primarily because we want to find out how you do the financial runs, how to operate it, getting the right people in. But getting the right people in means also collaborating with great minds, brilliant minds, such as like the designer, landscape people, the architects, but all the way to construction, how you build it, and how the fruition of any project. Of course, the owners, you have to also be aligned, and just imagine all the the creativity that goes into one space. So one of the things I think one key point I wanted to also send out to everyone was that I felt that what if what to do with all these collaborated efforts, the human capital. I had a bit time, I had a bit of resources, I had great connections, influence, and I felt maybe start your own nonprofit. And that's what I started. And starting a nonprofit did not mean, at the time I was like, 15 years ago, it was not about giving back. It was just getting all these resources and what to do with it. So I started my own nonprofit organization and did something for maternal health, childcare, the prevention of HIV. And now, fast forward, looking into sustainable tourism. And with the pandemic, I think everyone can relate to this. I mean, we've been running around and we don't know the concept of slow. So I'd say piano. I mean, it has given us a chance to step back. And in my case, I've analyzed more than, sustainable tourism is not only about environment. It has a lot to do with economics, where, we're in the dark age now. I mean, we can't just bond together for the good times. We have to bond together for the dark times too. Mm-hmm. And part of that is also human capital. What do we do with all the people that we actually have? And of course, the social issues as well. Mm-hmm. So we are all at stake in this industry. I mean, how do we now do this reformation and pass it on to the next generation?
Wow.
Did I make it 5 minutes?
Yes, you did, with a few seconds to spare, possibly 1 minute. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Cindy, for opening up and sharing, especially your, how you grew up and the background that you come from. As you are aware, I share the same office as Bill Barnett. So he always says, lead, don't follow, be the black sheep. So I'll leave you with everyone with that thought. Thank you again, Cindy, for sharing. Our next speaker, we've got Emma Yap. So Emma is a consultant from Hotelworks, HTL, based out of Singapore. Her work involves conducting market and financial feasibility studies for potential hotel projects in Southeast Asia. Emma is up and coming in her career, but her focus was not only in consulting. So again, we're touching on passion. So her passion and curiosity in hospitality has led her to dabble with different aspects of the industry, from hotel operations to sales and marketing, and now consulting. So I, for one, would be very interested to hear Emma's journey and, what are the key takeaways that she can share with us today. So Emma, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Sumi. It's definitely a pleasure to be here today to celebrate women in hospitality and also to share my personal experiences. I would say that being able to experience some of the best hotels and true hospitality is the ultimate perk that comes with the job, which I think most of us would agree. And I also always believe that the best job that one can have is one where you work hard and play even harder. And that is actually hospitality to me. So I remember I was helping with the pre-opening of Four Seasons Pudong in Shanghai. So on one hand, I'm sure if you ask anybody who has been involved in the pre-opening of a hotel, it is a very exhausting process. But on the other hand, there are wonderful perks that come along with it, some of which I'm sure all of you would know, like multiple food tasting, menu tastings, or even complimentary hotel stays, right, to test the product. But the best part of it for me is the people. It is very fulfilling when you actually have a team of people coming together, working day and night, trying to start a whole new hotel. So that would probably be one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had within hospitality. So the same goes with what I do now, which I enjoy very much. So as a consultant at Hotelworks, I get to be part of new hotel developments, conceptualizing ideas for hotels, repositioning of existing hotels. And at the same time, I get to travel and discover these new up and coming destinations in Asia. And to be honest, some of these places I would not even have thought of visiting if it's not for work. So you can imagine that life is hardly boring, actually.
Yes.
So one of my biggest takeaways is to never stop exploring the industry or learning. So if there's an opportunity to learn something new or try something, I would always say yes. So that's probably why I have tried so many different things in hospitality. So I first started with hotel operations, from guest relations, which is very client-facing, to the back of house purchasing. And then one thing led to the other. I was given the opportunity to do sales, marketing, and also revenue management. But I think I'm also appreciative of all these opportunities because it provided me with a more holistic view of how I view the industry. So I think it's important to have a thirst to learn, especially in the beginning of a career. But of course, my journey would have been impossible if I hadn't met several industry players who gave me all these opportunities, and I'm always very thankful for that. Another thing I picked up is learning to adapt to different working environments and situations. I mean, the current COVID period now that we're all going through is an obvious example that change is the only constant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But looking at the past few years with several consolidation, restructuring of large companies, and having found myself in one of these situations during the Accor and Fairmont merger, I found it really important to have dexterity in your skills and to adapt to these changes. Like keeping an open mind on challenges, new roles has really worked out pretty well for me. The last point that I would like to touch on is the importance of reaching out to people in the industry for advice or for mentorships. So far, I've only benefited from speaking openly with people to have different perspectives, which I find valuable and appreciative. So, and then coming back to the topic of this webinar, women in hospitality, I've come across amazing mentors who have been constantly supportive and providing guidance on my career progression. So I am taking that as a good sign that the industry is definitely encouraging more women in hospitality and celebrating our work.
Fantastic. Thank you, Emma. And you did, I think that there's a consistent theme here in the webinar. There's talk about passion, people, human capital. And I think, the hospitality industry, it is it can be a fun industry to be in for work and play as well. So yeah, and it also gives you the flexibility to move around in different areas in hospitality. Like you may not be with a hotel property, but you are still working, for the industry, so to speak, in terms of feasibility studies and research work. So thank you again, Emma, for all the key takeaways that you've just shared with us. And I'm sure, a lot of or in the audience or Mylea, for instance, will hopefully be inspired to change your mind to be in the industry. Thank you again. That brings us now to our sixth speaker. We've got Irene Hoke. Irene is the VP of Global Residential Development with Rosewood Hotel Group, based out of London. Irene has worked in hotel development her entire career, only recently switching to a focus on residences. So the development real estate side of the business has been a traditionally male-dominated world. After having a brief conversation with Irene last week, I'm really keen to learn more about the workforce transformation and what it's like working as a woman in the real estate industry in the 90s compared to this day and age. And how has that shaped Irene as a woman in a leadership role today? Irene, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Sumi. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Good. I'm here sitting in my home office in London where it's raining. So I'm all envious of those of you who are in nicer climates. For those of you who may not be familiar with branded residences, it is a segment very much related to luxury hotel development, where branded serviced residences are developed alongside a hotel in both urban and resort locations, and the residences are sold individually. The driving force behind this model is the rising cost of developing luxury hotels. The branded residential component helps to drive a strong return to owners and developers. I have been in hotel development my entire career in the industry, and I ended up in this industry completely by accident. Different than many women in this panel, I did not study hospitality, but rather corporate finance. I was targeting a career in investment banking, and I ended up in hotel development. One of the reasons that I wanted to speak on this panel, and thank you, Bill, for the invitation, is that I absolutely love what I do. And in my world of friends and acquaintances, I don't know that I know that many people who've been working for 20, 25 years who really love what they do. So I would like to inspire more women to go into hotel development. My career has taken me between the Americas and Europe several times before working in more global roles. When I started working in the industry in the mid-90s, hotel development was very much a male-dominated environment. Today, I'm happy to see a much more mixed world of both women and men. The skills required to be successful in hotel development are varied and suited to both women and men. The backgrounds of those of us in the industry vary widely, from finance, like me, to law, to architecture, design. The role requires understanding of all three areas, but more importantly, the ability to develop trusting relationships with potential owners and developers. I have never had in my career two identical days. I spend my time sourcing deals, learning about new locations, pitching and selling my brand to developers, reviewing architectural drawings, structuring deals, negotiating agreements, looking at sites, and networking in the industry. Hotel development is interesting, varied, and I am still today, after 25 years, learning something every single day. I travel quite a bit, but not too much for me, maybe 50 to 60% of my time. Obviously not since March, and I guess we'll all have to see what our world looks like post-COVID and whether we will be traveling as much. When I started my career, there were few women in hotel development. It was very much a boys' club, and it had a style that was expected of developers, which was very brashy and salesy. Today, I thankfully have many colleagues and friends doing hotel development who've really been able to incorporate their own style of building relationships with owners, developers, advisors, and they have become extremely successful. A woman who inspired me as I was coming up through the ranks is Jennifer Fox. I know she was in Asia for a long time as well. She's been a leader in the industry for years. She most recently was CEO of Millennium in Copthorne. Before that, she was president of Fairmont Hotels. Even 15 years ago, when I was working with her, she very much had her own style. She didn't pretend to be a man. She was very elegant. She worked extremely hard, always had a great sense of humor. And at that point in my career, when I worked with her, she really inspired me to be myself and not to be afraid to bring my own style and personality to what I do. I'm based in London, where a group of women have recently set up an organization called Women in Hotels. And the purpose of this organization is for women to support other women through mentoring, sharing knowledge about our respective roles, and advancing each other. In particular, we would like to see more women on panels at hotel development conferences and investment conferences, such as IHIF in Berlin and HICAP, which occurs at various locations in Asia. I know that Women in Hotels is expanding globally, and I'm sure that similar organizations exist in Asia. So I just want to encourage all of you to explore careers in hotel development, and I'd be more than happy to speak to anyone if you have questions about just advice and about what I do on a day-to-day basis. Thank you, Sumi.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Irene. You know, you have shared an area where, you know, it's quite an alien sector to me. So thanks for opening up as well and sharing what it's like working in hotel development. And I think you mentioned a very important point there where, you know, not only women, I think, you know, people that you work with generally, you know, as you move up, I mean, it's so important to be lifted, you know, we lift one each other and not just, you know, selfishly be on our way up. So, and I think it's so important. That also goes to show that there's great leadership skills where you are also selfless. You're also helping other people to flourish. So thanks again for sharing your insights. So Sunny is our next speaker. Sunny is definitely not a follower. So she leads and she is currently the head of commercial performance and brand activation at JA Resorts and Hotels based in Dubai. So Sunny has held many leadership positions. She's from Shanghai, China, and I can relate with the challenges of working in non-Asian countries where English is not your first language, managing colleagues who are predominantly men. And like all of us, constant hard work and resilience is what it takes to at least stay on the top. So I know Sunny was in Cornell last year for the Women in Leadership program. And there was a lot of research that, you know, that was shared. And I'm keen to hear what can she share with us today and based on her experience in Cornell last year. Sunny, all yours.
Great, thank you, Sumi, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone here. And also thank you, Bill and Sumi, for having me on the panel. Well, you probably heard from the introduction, I'm from China, mainland. You're probably looking at my experience and thought, that's a rare one. A fully born and bred Chinese lady working overseas and doing a senior role. How did she get there? The answer is very straightforward. Passion. I think a lot of other panelists mentioned about this already, but passion is very important. Just a very little introduction about myself, so you know my background. I'm a full 360-degree hotel girl. I studied hotel management. I have worked in all departments in hotels. Believe it or not, I finished my management training program by leading engineering department for TQM. I was the only woman besides of the secretary. So it's a very interesting experience. I also spent some good years working in those sales marketing agencies who actually serve hotels. So I have the pleasure to working with a lot of hotel brands, from those mega brands such as Marriott, IHG, Hilton, to those boutique ones like the Langham and Swire Hotels groups. And then I joined a hotel corporate office, moving me from China, Shanghai to Southeast Asia. I have done project in Shanghai. I have done project in Korea and Japan, and now I'm in Middle East and Indian Ocean region. The reason I'm mentioning all that is I want to send out a positive inspiration. If I can do it, you can all do it. Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not easy. You know, a leader, a female leader, a Chinese female leader, just by reading these 3 words, you will know it's not easy. But I'm telling you, it's worth the effort. All right, and now I'm going to share with you 3 tips, and I hope that's going to benefit. The first one is always get out of your comfort zone. So, you know, get comfortable with the discomfort. Trust me. Everyone, regardless how old you are and how senior they are, what is the background, everyone can be sometimes feel discomfort about some situation or underconfidence. The only difference is whether we push ourselves to do it or not. You will definitely come back and thank yourself in the future to be say, thank you, you've been brave. And that is how we grow, right? I think secondly is don't quit easily. Wow, whenever I talk about this topic, I feel so old. This is all my like bloody experience. So there are things you will once find, oh my God, it's so hard, it's so dramatic, regardless if it's related with work or it's with relationship. You know, you just think, oh, I can't do it, I have to escape. But trust me, brace, keep calm, and fight through it. You will then actually look back and laugh at those challenges you actually were thought they were so traumatic. Yeah. And then the thirdly is never stop learning. So I think you all will agree with me, it's a really fast moving world. With digital technology, AI, machine learning, things can change like this, like a glance. So learning proactively is the key for us to stand in front of our games. It's very important, and it's very important for our ladies. Well, last but not least, I actually want to ask you all a question. Like what Sumi mentioned earlier, I was in Cornell last year, and there are so many amazing facts actually I learned from there. Consider the time, I will just only brought up one question. So who do you think can negotiate better, man or woman? Yeah, you probably, think about it, you will type your answer in the Q&A session. Well, the answer, very interesting. Okay, listen carefully. Men negotiate better for themselves. Women negotiate better, much better, when they negotiate for other people. Lot of, yeah, so I see some smiling face, yeah. So, I think that it's a lot of data, a lot of information really behind this answer, right? And probably one of the reasons is because the stereotype not only exists in the society, but also in our mind. As a lady, we thought, oh, we need to be gentle, we need to be sweet, we need to be nice, ask for things for ourselves, consider not a good form, right? So, and also some panelists actually mentioned, generally speaking, women are lower paid than men. Probably one of the reasons is we don't ask for it. So ladies, be strong, be authentic, trust yourself, never stop learning, and ask for a higher salary because you deserve it.
I hope my bosses are listening, because because you know what I'm going to do after this webinar. Thank you so much, Sunny, for your, not only very interesting facts and also quite an entertaining talk. And I remember talking about, coming out of the comfort zone when I first came out into the workforce after having 2 children, not working for 7 years, and I got offered a job. And Anthony Luck, who is still my mentor today and my boss, and I said, I'm not quite sure if I can do this job. And he said, well, good, because if you're confident, I'll be very worried, because that means that I'm going to challenge myself and prove that I can do it. So yeah, it's so important to get out of the comfort zone and always learn. There's so much to learn in this world, and I don't think you can ever stop learning. So yeah, so thank you again, Sunny, for the 5-minute fast and furious talk. So that brings us to our 8th speaker. I'd like to present Anne Arrowsmith, and who has been promoted to the role of Corporate General Manager with 137 Pillars, Hotels and Resorts. A perfect example of women in leadership where age is just a number. Anne was described as a hotelier with a wealth of experience in both hospitality, marketing, and operations, as well as a gracious manner and meticulous attention to detail, make her the perfect person to take the helm of the brand, which was mentioned in the hospitality.net. Anne splits the time between Bangkok and Chiang Mai, and has a very inspiring story to tell us today. And I want to hear more, because our conversation was very brief the last time. So Anne, the floor is all yours.
Sumi, thank you very much, and hello to everybody. I think it particularly apt that we're having this conversation today, because the 18th of August marks the 100-year anniversary of women earning the right to vote in the USA. So when Malaya brings up the point about women and what needs to be done, we have come some way in the last 100 years, but when you compare our advances in technology to our advances in terms of humanity and in terms of equality, really, we're at the start. So to everybody coming into the workforce, there's a great amount yet to be done. But it's exciting and it's challenging. I thought today just to divide my presentation into 2 key points. The first one is to what advice would I provide to my 20-year-old impatient and uncertain self? And the second part would be to describe some of the influences that occurred and influenced me at a very young age, which led me to be intrigued by hospitality, by travel, and the hotel industry. So in terms of, I'll share 5 points with regard to tips that hopefully might still be applicable to myself and to everybody else. Number 1, be curious. And with that, be curious about everyone and everything. Listen, learn, ask questions. When I first came and worked in Thailand, I'd been here about 2 weeks, and I was coming out of one of our department head meetings, and a colleague said, "Kun Ann," and I could tell she was going to be serious because she slowed down. She said, "Kun Ann, you think too loud." So once I realized what she was telling me, I was outspoken. I asked whether thinking too loud, whether I was appropriate and whether I was accurate, to which she said yes to both. So I said, well, I can assure you I will continue to think loud. So to everybody out there, please, you have a voice, use your voice. Secondly, I would say, believe in yourself, and most importantly, be yourself. It's very easy for us to try and be the person that somebody wants us to be. But always stick to your core and your compass. Be yourself, and you will find in life that the people that gravitate to you and the people that are your true friends know you and like you because of who you are. This has been said in another way, but the other thing is to believe that you are equal to all, but please avoid believing that you are better than most. And in this area, I would say males are masters at this because they're very, very good at telling us how very, very good they are. And somehow we tend to listen. That is perhaps until the last 4 years, and we have the best example of anybody boasting about their abilities when they seem ill-equipped to be doing anything political. So that's my political stance. The next one would be, please maintain a sense of humor. It's important on several levels, but particularly because it reduces stress, it lifts your mood, and when, as in our industry, you might travel to various destinations and be working in different cultures, it's a great leveler. So humor has a part to play, and I think that it's a quality that perhaps at times we don't use enough. And then the last point that I would offer is to take criticism seriously, but don't take it personally. And, as we've often heard, life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So at times it's not easy to hear a critique. None of us like to be corrected, but it really is the breakfast of champions, and I would say embrace it, and as I say, look for improvement. The other part that I had shared with Sumi is some earlier influences in my life, and I was an avid reader. I grew up, I must be the oldest person on this panel. I grew up on the Welsh-English border in a small place. It was not big enough to qualify as a village, and much of my escape was through reading. During the summer months, I was quite eclectic in terms of my taste, but during the summer months, I would indulge in murder and mystery and very much the art of deception. And I discovered Agatha Christie. So when I think of females that have influenced me, Agatha Christie is a big influencer. And it's appropriate and apropos to hotels because for those that may not know her, she penned some 66 books. All of them, or almost all of them, were murder mysteries. And the majority were set in what one could term a total institution. They were remote locations, hotels, they could be cruise ships or luxury trains. So titles that spring to mind are At Bertram's Hotel, Evil Under the Sun, both of them set in hotels. Then you have Death on the Nile, which was on one of the ships on the Nile. And of course, perhaps her most famous work was Murder on the Orient Express, the most luxurious train that still runs today. Now, Agatha Christie, you might be surprised to learn, is spared only to sales of Shakespeare and the Bible. She has sold, it's reputed, to be approximately 4 billion, and that's billion with a B, books over the course of her life and now posthumously. And to give context in a more relevant female author, if one looks at J.K. Rowling has actually hit about 50 million. So she has quite some way to go to Agatha Christie. And as you can see, I was not alone in reading her. So hence my intrigue in luxury, in luxurious locations and remote locations, and my interest in travel and in hospitality. My very first job was as a room attendant in a small hotel where I grew up. My very first Atlantic trip was to work for a summer location at Chateau Lake Louise. And from there, I worked on a cruise ship for 4 years. That took me around the world. That essentially, again, was in operations in the front office. Very much a male-dominated industry at the time that I joined. And in fact, I was the first female to be taken on by P&O & Co. In the capacity of a hotelier rather than a secretary, as they called them at those days. So a pioneer there. From there, I joined Regent International Hotels. That was acquired by Four Seasons, so I spent almost 25 years with the combined company. And in the role at those hotels or with those entities, I was in sales and marketing. And 5 years ago, I was given the opportunity, quite fortuitously, to head up the Chiang Mai 137 Pillars House. And as of this year, as Sumi said, I've assumed responsibility for our 2 properties, together with looking at development and expanding the brand beyond Thailand. So it's been an adventure, it's been a privilege, and as everybody else, go with your passion.
All right, thank you very much, Anne, for sharing. I think you pointed out a few key points there that, you know, that is still ring true and timeless for anyone, particularly about being authentic, being yourself. I think there's nothing more true than that in not just hospitality industry, but, you know, in everything we do as well. It's so important not to lose yourself, you know, just trying to please others or trying to be someone that you're not. So thanks again, Anne, for taking the time today to be one of our panelists on the webinar. And we've got 2 more speakers to go. And the next speaker, we've got Rebecca Lee. Like most speakers, I think we all need more than 5 minutes to present. So Rebecca Lee is no different. She has the most fascinating, one of the most fascinating professions. She is the VP of Hotel Development with Galaxy Entertainment Group, responsible for supporting Galaxy Entertainment Group's hotel or hospitality development expansion projects, focusing on commercial aspects. As you are aware, Galaxy Entertainment Group primarily develops and operates large portfolio of integrated resort, retail, dining, hotel and gaming facilities and she's based in Macau. So Rebecca is Korean by descent and was raised in America. She's a truly global citizen working in a niche, very niche sector within the hospitality in Asia. I found out that in her spare time, Rebecca compares notes on hotels and hospitality innovations. So that's another key of never stop learning. So Rebecca, I'm curious to hear, how do you survive the industry that you're in? Because I believe it's not, it's also a very male-dominated industry. And yeah, how do you do it? What's your secret?
Well, thank you, Sumi. Thank you, Bill, Sumi, for organizing. Really, really happy and honored to be here. It's really nice to connect with everyone virtually like this. I heard there's quite about 500 signups here today, so I'm probably speaking and most of you listening may have more or less experience, but thank you for giving me the chance. Like Sumi said, my name is Rebecca Lee. I'm the Vice President of Hotel Development under Hotels and Lifestyle Development Team here at Galaxy Entertainment Group. My core responsibility is commercial negotiation with hotel brand partners, as well as lifestyle and food and beverage brands and partners. We're trying bringing in more brands and partners to enhance our product offerings for exciting guest experience for our integrated resort, where our core customers' key interests are entertainment and gaming. Yes. I've been in this role for about 3 years now. It's been quite interesting and amazing. There's just so much going on, not just in Macau or Galaxy, but within the gaming industry right now. And I know although times are difficult for everyone right now, I'm just very thankful to be able to be doing what I truly enjoy. And I get up every morning saying, I really do love what I do. So being in development, okay, so I felt that it is definitely more of a male dominant sector in the hospitality industry, but as years go by, it's been great to see more and more female leaders excel in this sector. While gaming hospitality development can be seen somewhat different from the traditional hotel development, but I can say the work and the work style is not that much different. The only difference is who we're catering to, who we are serving, who are our customers. It's just another type of leisure customers, but which in the gaming sector, yes, it is very male dominant, even with the customer sector. And today, surviving this career and everything, today I just survived Typhoon 10. It was probably one of the worst typhoons that we've had in a couple of years. But yeah, I survived that. I'm physically located on the site office, looking after the expansion plans. So today I'm actually dialing in from home because our site office has been quite destroyed today. Survival of being in the site office with a lot of male colleagues, I can't say it is challenging or less challenging. It's just different. The work that I do with what I do right now, I can say the work itself is genderless. It doesn't make a difference if you're a male or female, as long as you're comfortable in your skin, as long as you know what you're doing. But however, me as a person, I'm a very passionate person, and sometimes, I hate to admit it, but I do get my emotions involved in my work. But I feel that that's actually who I am, and I'm comfortable with that. And I was able to get here because of who I am and what my style is. Being a female, working with a lot of male colleagues, it can be challenging, but not because of the gender issues. I mean, back in my career, I actually had experiences where some people's attitude towards me or perceptions about me were different, but that wasn't because of gender. It was more about cultural and generational differences. But what I do and my work style as a female, I think I can put my emotions into it, my passion, and being able to read people when I'm doing contract negotiation. That's all it comes down to. And whatever game you're playing, you got to know your opponents. And if you're able to read your opponent, if you're able to know what you need to achieve at the end of this game, you can succeed. And I can't say I've succeeded every single time, but I think I'm here because I'm okay. I have done pretty well getting the projects that I've worked on before and some of the brand partners. And I think that's just more personality than a gender difference. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, but knowing that the success factor of the game of this contract negotiation is just knowing your opponent. And heck, you know what? If I can use my female superpowers to get what I need, why not? But at the same time, again, it's just really, for me, it's really about being comfortable with who I am and how I present myself and how I present what I do in work.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Rebecca. And again, you shared a very good point, because that the main reason why we're having this webinar is to celebrate success and also our good news stories, and not specifically just gender related. You mentioned about knowing your opponent, and I think that comes with learning as well, just knowing your game and just be comfortable and know what you're doing and to be able to excel. So that's a really good advice, I think, for everyone. So thank you again for joining us today, and I hope you're okay with the typhoon.
I survived.
One webinar at a time. Excellent. So that brings us to our last speaker. Wow. So time really flies. We're just over a little an hour. So yeah, just having a blast, just hearing all the inspirations from this dynamic group of women. No different to my last speaker as well, Rachel Davidson, who is the Cluster General Manager, Hilton Sukhumvit and Doubletree by Hilton, based in Bangkok. So I have the pleasure of working with Rachel in the Travel and Tourism Committee within AmCham Thailand, where she is the co-chair. Rachel is nothing short of a true hotelier in a career spanning more than 30 years and has held a number of director positions in organizations including President of American Chamber of Commerce in Okinawa, Chair of Tourism with Sundays, President of Hotels, Sales and Marketing Association in Victoria, and Director of YWCA Melbourne, and now Governor of AmCham Thailand. Whew, I think I got all that. Hospitality is in her blood. She's passionate, and that's all she wants to do. So I'm really keen to hear what gives her the drive and to stay in the industry. Rachel, over to you.
Thanks, Sumi, and thanks everyone. What an amazing ladies, amazing, inspiring stories. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's great to be here. It's great to be able to share, I suppose, my passion for the hospitality industry. Originally, I started to study to be an engineer and worked casually in the industry to sort of support my studies. And I fell in love. I fell in love with this industry. It is my passion. I love it. It's vibrant. It's diverse. It's fun, and you're creating great experiences for people. It transcends borders. It's universal, and it can be really challenging, but it's also really rewarding. So it offers so much. There's so much diversity within the industry, so many different areas that you can go into. I am really lucky, and like Rebecca, like Irene, I love what I do, and that's a very privileged place to be in. So I think, being passionate is very, very important, whatever it is you choose to do. The second one that I was asked was in regards to how do you inspire people, doing what you do, how do you inspire people? To me, that's a little bit about, it's about having a very clear vision about where it is you want to go and why you want to go there. And it's about being able to communicate that to people, get their buy-in, their understanding, making sure that you're communicating with them, you're being authentic, you're being real, you're hearing what they've got to say, you're being empathetic, and you're recognizing people. So I think in trying to inspire people, these things are truly, truly important. I am very grateful that I got into this industry, and I got into it at a time where there weren't a lot of women coming up the management side, and I really, I'm glad that I'm doing what I'm doing, though I'm not an engineer. And some of the things that I would say to my earlier self, and some of the tips that I would say, and some of the themes I think we've seen come through all of the stories that we've heard here today, run along those things. So Malaya, is a really, truly fantastic industry. So I hope that we're able to share our stories with more women and encourage more women into this industry, because it does offer just so very, very much. And the tips I'd share, and the tips, as I say, it was really interesting watching these get time and time again from all of our speakers shared. It does start with believing in yourself. Okay? Believing in yourself and being yourself. I thought that was very, very important, and that you are being true and authentic to yourself. Being very can-do, having a positive approach to things, and doing what you're passionate about. You know, life's too short. You have to be passionate. And I think if you're going to, you know, if you've got passion and you've got perseverance, that will result in success wherever it is that you choose to do it. Some of the other things that we've seen is, or keep hearing, is something that I think is truly very important too. It is about being curious, being genuinely curious about people, being generally curious about, you know, circumstances and places, and having a desire, an absolute hunger to continue learning, to continue growing, and to continue growing the people that are around you too. So everybody, you know, continuing to do that. I do think also, and we've heard from a lot of the women here, having a career plan and, you know, understanding where you're going, but being flexible enough to say, hey, we can change, we can adapt. And there's certainly been times throughout my career where I have gone sideways, I have gone even backwards to join the company that I want to, and to actually achieve the goal that it is that I'm after to be doing. One of the other things that I did want to, we've heard it in a lot of the stories, but I did want to actually bring also too, for women that are interested in developing a career in this industry and moving up the leadership chain, is to be results focused. And again, I find that's one of the things we don't necessarily share with women, but it is important that we do understand that creating results, adding value is really, really important. And creating the team around you that is going to share that with you. And being careful to keep focused on those things that are allowing you and enabling you to add value to what it is you're doing, not getting sidetracked by everything else that happens around. I was really pleased to hear people talk about mentors throughout their career, because I think that's a truly important part of development. And tip from me would be, ask somebody you really respect to be your mentor, because you will find that most people are just truly honoured to be asked, and are very, very willing to do so. So I think that is really important too. And the last, and earn a sponsor, which is a bit different from asking for a mentor. That's doing something else. The last thing I'd like to say, and it was really good to hear this come up a few times too, is about the importance for all of us to give back and to share the fantastic things that are about our industry. Become a mentor yourself, whether it's through environmental sustainability, all of the things. I thank you so much, all of you ladies, for all the passion you bring to our industry. I hope we can convince Malaya that this is a fabulous, fabulous place to be. It's fun, it's interesting, it's dynamic, and I thank you all today for joining us.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Rachel, you really summed it all up, you know, all the keywords. We've got 10 incredible women on this panel, and each one of us brought very different, you know, takeaways and words of wisdom. You know, I've got here the consistent theme here is passion, people, you know, curiosity, learn, explore, adaptability, and mentorship. Be yourself, be authentic, results focus, and you know, so many more. And I'm so glad this webinar is recorded, so we can, you know, look back and learn from as well, and also spread, you know, all these key takeaways that everybody could learn from. So thank you again for everyone's time and also insights by joining this webinar. I know we're all very busy from all different parts of the world. And I would like to end the session with one of my favorite quotes, and I think which is very appropriate for this webinar, which is by Raki Warrior, and she works for IBM. And she said that while we may be individually strong, we are collectively powerful. So thank you again, everyone. And thank you to our audience for tuning in. See ya. Bye.